Last year, thanks to the success of Everything Everywhere All at Once, Kate Bush's Running Up That Hill jumped back onto the charts and became a massive hit. Previously, I have vented and whined about the constant resurgence of old music, and I will not be doing that here. This doesn't feel as cynical or soulless as the corporate rehashing. This seems more like a coincidence, more like a classic song having a resurgence thanks to newer media which respects it. And plus, Running Up That Hill is a great classic song. Something similar happened this year.
If you know what, I'd love to hear you sing along. This is one of my favorite songs of all time. It's called Fast Car.
Luke Combs, famous rising country star, released his 2023 album Getting Older. On that album was a cover of Tracy Chapman's Fast Car.
You got a fast car, and I wanna take it to anywhere.
For this video, I couldn't really slack off. Combs may not be a familiar name to me, but I've heard his name a lot. A rising prominent country star with a moderate amount of hits and talent. Listening to his music, even while writing this, it does have that country twang. But it also has a lot more soft rock into it. The rising country trend has been a bit unusual. I think a lot of it comes after some years of depressing artificial music about sadness. Instead, we have acoustic and soft rock versions of sadness. It technically began with Florida Georgia Line in 2010 and resulted in bro country being such an irritating genre, it turned country into even more of a joke than it already was. After years of partying and hip-hop vernacular, now it seems to be moving in a more intimate direction towards folk and Americana, possibly after 10 years of Florida Georgia Line. I'd also add that listening to the album, Combs is just a good songwriter and composer. Tracy Chapman is not that.
You get a fast car. I want a ticket to anywhere.
In the later 1980s, after years of overproduced and campy music, the alternative boom was just beginning. That late 80s alternative boom has recently gotten more recognition, which is good because the bands from it were very interesting. Tracy Chapman probably being the biggest next to REM. It means competing with some of the most iconic bands during one of the most insane years in music. It was a massive deal, and it helps that her self-titled album is highly acclaimed.
Sorry. I remember when we were driving in your car. Speed so fast, I felt like I was drunk. City lights day out before us, and your arm felt nice wrapped around my shoulder like a whisper. While they're standing in the welfare lines, crying at the doorsteps of those armies of salvation. Why wouldn't there so many of us, so there are people still alone? Why are the missiles called peacekeepers when they're aimed to kill? Why is a woman still not safe when she's in her home?
Anyway, Combs' version came out on his album. According to him,
I remember him playing me this album, and it's one of the first songs that I remember. The whole album is one of the first pieces of music that I remember at all. A song that I knew is like what would become one of my favorite songs. I didn't even know what that meant.
Remember that. Then it became his largest hit and #1, and nobody saw it coming. Keep in mind that there have been a lot of covers of Fast Car, and as a song bluntly about being stuck in a cycle of poverty, it resonates a lot with, well,
maybe we can make a deal. Maybe together we can get some.
This makes me want to burn an orphanage. This isn't because they don't get the song, it's from them wanting that indie cred. Chapman just happened to be the song they covered, which makes it a little unusual for him, of all people, to cover Fast Car. Then it begs the question, why is it #1? Before that, let's look at the versions.
You get a fast car. Is it fast enough so we can fly away?
Fast Car is a song about fleeting good memories and nostalgia that locks its narrator in the past, telling of the narrator taking care of her deadbeat father after her mother leaves, realizing that taking care of him is what's holding her back. Coming to said realization next, she lives to make a living for herself, fueled by the memory of the fast car.
Remember when we were driving in your car. Speed so fast, I felt like I was drunk. City lights day out before us, and your arm felt nice wrapped around my shoulder.
Despite that, she ends up in the same place. She gets married, she has kids, but he just ends up the same way, unable to work, drinking his life away, and leaving her with the weight while flanking at the poverty line.
We'll move out of the shelter. buy a bigger house and live in the suburbs.
Coming to the dark realization that the memory of the good times with this person were just memories. Despite wanting to work hard up in the system to avoid a home in the suburbs, it's all just memories and hopes. He didn't end up freeing her from poverty and ended up becoming a schlub and holding her down. In the end, the fast car is just a memory she has to leave behind to move out of the very past she's stuck in. This is not a series for, and I quote, playing the hits type covers. There are tons of obscure, good, bad, and stupid covers of songs that aren't worth covering. This is for covers that matter, which add to and change the song, or worse, fucking soil it for some selfish motive. If this wasn't the biggest song of the year, I probably would not cover it. Luke Combs adds very little to Fast Car. If anything, he changes nothing. In that way, it becomes more of a story song rather than a semi-personal admission. Granted, Chapman has said little about the song itself. She's not really spoken about whether the song is based on a true story or not, but that doesn't matter. You really do feel the person she's talking about, her or not, is her. Combs makes it clear that it is not his version. He likes the song and so he's covering it. In a cynical take, which I originally had before I listened to his album, I would say it got famous because he's a rising star taking advantage of an older star, till I listened to the album and realized, well, he wrote a song about his own song outliving him.
I will, but my song will never die.
Before Fast Car became a hit. On his previous album, he wrote a song about if he weren't famous making music, he'd still be making music. Which is a strange thing to write about, but it makes a lot more sense when it hit me. He just happens to be a famous pop star, country pop star. Realizing that made me step back a lot in regards to how I talked about him. It results in just a country version of Fast Car. The guitars are more harmonic, the bass is a lot more present, there's a lot of that country flavor, and Combs' singing is just the singing he does on the rest of the album. I do think the harder singing on the song doesn't really add, but it's not like it ruins anything. There's one small detail. Towards the end of the verses, Chapman tends to do up talk. She doesn't really end the line as much as it seems to trail off into the wind, because they are just dreams and thoughts. The narrator just wants to escape their current situation and go somewhere else. The thoughts aren't finished because they don't exist. The singing is tired and aimless, with laments of wanting something better but knowing you may never reach it. The chorus is the only clear part in the pronunciation because it's a clear memory that did exist. One she holds dear, but it's what holds her back. Combs' version does not really have that because the nostalgic and melancholy tone doesn't exist in his traditional Americana country tone.
So I work in the market as a checkout girl, and I will move out of the shelter, buy a bigger house, live in the suburbs.
It plays into the brighter tone for a country song, but it still has that slight edge of slight sadness country songs have, which fits fine frankly on the album. The tracks are all about memory and nostalgia. I may not like the cover, but it fits on the album, and even then, I do like his singing voice. To be honest, I obviously prefer the non-country version, merely based on my taste. It's not like the original song can't become country or Americana. It's already an acoustic folk song with the same depressing lyrics tuned to the genre. This song came on and my mom was listening to it, and granted she was very drunk, but she was just giving looks of confusion because it sounds so close to the original, it almost is. There have been some takes on the cover, some claiming it takes power from Chapman. If this were Chris Stapleton or the Killers, that could be the case. However, Luke Combs is neither of those artists, nor is he really trying to pander to the joy of the song. He just makes it clear he likes the song and that's why he's covering it. Unlike many other country artists, I actually feel like his music is musical. It's not his job because it has to be, it is because he wants that job, which makes the cover more honorable than most. There have been a lot of covers of Fast Car, not because of its message, but because it's a famous song about being stuck in poverty, of dreaming of something better. A lot of songs like that resonate with people, even with people who aren't in or near poverty. It's a beautiful and famous song, and famous songs are more likely to be covered than not famous songs. However, and I'm going to be blunt here, hearing Sam Smith and Justin Bieber cover Fast Car in their "Baby, I Love You So Much" voice makes me dry heave.
Me, myself, I got nothing to lose.
You look so handsome across the poverty line, girl. I'm sure there are a few good covers of the song, but none of them crossed into success the way Combs' version did. He wrote a lot of heavy lyrical songs on that album, and I kinda loved it for that reason. I am a sucker for good songwriting, and he is a good songwriter. To make it obvious, it became number one for the same reason Running Up That Hill did. It is an old song from a nostalgic age and came back when it had the chance. It also resonates during a time when people are working a lot harder now to make ends meet, and people are feeling more stuck than ever. It could even be that Combs relates to the song himself. I do feel that passion in the song, which makes me hesitant to say it's lazy or pointless. All covers are pointless. A better question is, why was the original song as famous as it is? At the time Tracy Chapman became that massive album, it came at a turning point. While the late 80s continued to still be the 80s, there was a slow turn towards the alternative movement. While Nirvana accidentally erased that entire buildup, a lot of the impact created from the alternative boom is still much felt through the 90s. It seems 1987 was about the year the entire scene began to transition to more lyric-focused and softer music. Chapman's message resonated with a lot of sentiments at the time, and the music fit in with a growing drive for more thoughtful music. Plus, a good sad song that's well written always hits people right. It got famous because Chapman's a good writer and performer, which helped the song grow. There is only one issue that bleeds out from the song. Fast Car is about the taint of nostalgia.
Maybe together you and me find it. I got no plans, I ain't going nowhere. Take your fast car and keep on driving.
When the song itself is about how nostalgia and dreaming holds us back from living for a proper and better future. The narrator's mother doesn't escape her parasitic relationship with the narrator's father until she leaves.
My mama went off and left him. She said somebody's got to take care of him. So I quit school and that's what I did.
When she leaves upon realizing she isn't going anywhere, she sets off for a life with a special person based on the good time she had in the fast car.
So I remember when we were driving in your car.
However, the title itself is just that, a title. She doesn't escape poverty, he doesn't end up aiding and just becomes a slob. The fast car wasn't special, it was just a car. She wanted to move out and live in the suburbs, and even if she did, the problems she has now would still persist. The sad truth is that the only way for her to get a better life is to leave him behind, like her mother, without the fast car. Does the song fit right with that context? Honestly, after listening to the album, yes. I went into this video expecting to dislike the Combs version, but I found myself liking it fine after listening to the album. It's about aging and getting older, taking on adulthood and looking back on the past, good and bad. The song right after Fast Car is about him getting a tattoo for a lover, which ended up leaving. Though the symbol fades and is covered up, the relationship sits in his memory as he wishes for it to return.
I'll never do. Losing you's the only thing worse than a tattoo on a sunburn.
Looking back to the past and reflecting on choices is the theme of the album. Though the song might be a bit sadder than the rest, it fits well. Since Combs is a solid songwriter, it makes sense why he's a famous country star, but not the most famous. Can't believe I wrote all that. I should do my research more often. To answer which version is better is pointless, frankly. Chapman has since come out and is just as surprised as the rest of us, but she seems happy with it, according to her own words. I've seen plenty of the more negative takes towards this song, and frankly, I can't really say I disagree with many of them. I have also made it very clear how much I'm sick of covers and remashes, but I think in this case I need to set down that I'm not against all of them, you know? I get it. It's a fucking cover of a good song by a good artist, so it's a good cover of a good song. I understand that. So, in that sense, I think it's a perfectly acceptable cover. It's a good cover.